Hi, welcome to WolfTV. Today I am joined by John and Jason, and I am Dominic. So we are going to be talking about design thinking today. We're talking about where it originated from, why it's important, the guiding principles and the process itself.
Who it's for, and how you can get started with it.
Yeah, let's do this.
What is design thinking?
Well, I shall take that honour.
Go for it, Dom.
Design thinking is a mindset. Basically, all around how you can creatively solve problems.
And well, it's not a framework. So there are frameworks underneath design thinking that helps you implement it as a mindset, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously there's crossover between that and user experience because in user experience you have a whole number of different tools and workshops that you can pull and use to help you to guide you through those journeys that you need to capture, and all of that research. And equally with design thinking is very similar. You're using a whole number of different tools to help you.
So the kind of origins of design thinking, because it's become super popular, especially on the internet recently, and there's a real buzz about it.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a new thing?
No.
It's not been around for decades.
It's been around for
For a
decades.
long time.
It was around, like in the 50s and 60s, and even probably before that. But I think it's with anything until you name it, it's sort of is not really a thing. It's just something that people do.
So yeah, the kind of origins of design thinking in the kind of 50s and 60s with all kinds of industrial design and other applications, and then Stanford University and IDEO popularised it in the 80s and 90s from a kind of commercial point of view, and they brought it to the business world. It's had a resurgence recently, or it's had a peak in interest, if you like, from stuff like the design sprint that obviously Jake Knapp and kind of came from Google Ventures.
I think that's a great thing. Jake Knapp really did kind of hone in on design thinking as a kind of great way to help products get through that journey that they're on. As he coined that whole term, the design sprint. David Kelly did back in the 80s and 90s with design thinking. So
yeah. I have a real beef with these kind of terms like design sprint and design thinking, because I feel like they instantly put off certain people that don't feel like they're designers. And that's something actually that this book by the IDEO founders, the way it's got tiny text as well, you've never seen it. It's called Creative Confidence, basically. And the thing about this book is it's got loads of brilliant examples of how the everyday person can use design thinking, basically. So it's not just about designers, it's not just for digital product design, it's not just for physical product design. It can be for anything. It's a mindset, so it can be wrapped around anything. Even though it's called design thinking, it's not just for designers.
This isn't just about design anymore. This can be used to solve lots of different types of challenges, and more importantly, business challenges, where design thinking is really helpful because it was introduced to get them to think a bit differently and open up their minds. Because a lot of the time, the capabilities are in-house, right? They have all of these really intellectual people who are great at what they do. They're just not particularly very good at getting it all down on paper necessarily.
There's three key principles, right? What are they?
Empathy, ideation, experimentation.
Yeah, so empathy is in getting in the shoes of users, getting in the shoes of people who want to use the product or service or whatever it is that you're designing.
That's by interviews, by sitting down with people, by actually finding out what their pain points are, what their challenges are, what problems they've got.
That's it, yeah. The main thing with design thinking, empathy is right up there, one of the three key principles.
Yeah, and it's such a valuable asset to have as well, because it really helps drive forward all of the rest of that process.
That's it. Designing with the heart, man. Have a heart. So ideation is the next one, right? So ideating, coming up with ideas, generating ideas. And the way that design thinking does that is in a creative way. Using collaboration, using tools and techniques to help people work together. And these could be people who are completely, we're not talking about a bunch of designers or a bunch of UX people or a bunch of, marketers or whatever, people who are all in the same field. How can you get people who are from different backgrounds and different professions to align around an idea and start generating ideas?
Yeah.
And that's the power of design thinking, is that when you do, great things come out, great things happen.
It's really important, and it's great seeing, you know, from an outside perspective, like watching in and seeing these people collaborate together. They end up contributing some really valuable stuff.
Yeah, and they can come up with ideas together, and they can complement each other's skill sets as well. So
yeah,
ideation is super important. And then, you know, from a very top level, you know, perspective, the third principle is experimenting. So that basically means rolling up your sleeves and getting your hands dirty and making something tangible. So you can empathise with the user, you can find out what it is that you're designing and who you're designing for. You can generate ideas collaboratively in a fun and engaging way, and then you can basically create something that you can put in front of people.
Yeah, of course. I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's creating that kind of tangible outcome that you can then go and test with those people that you're empathising with right at the very beginning. You know, making sure that what you've created is aligning with everything that you've done right up to getting to that point, which I think
if you miss that part out, or if you don't go back to the user and test with them and show them and kind of get their experience and judgment from them, you're not doing design thinking.
It's not particularly like a linear process, right? So, you know, and you might say, well, you kind of empathise at the start and then that's it, there's no more empathy to give. But it's kind of, actually, you know, all the way through, you need to be exercising that part, you know, all the way through you need to be ideating within, you know, the parameters of the kind of process and the toolkit and stuff. You can't just be like, oh, I've got another idea to chuck in. Well, you know, you got to have kind of limits, you know.
There are rules.
There are rules, there are rules, and that's the thing with design thinking, there's frameworks like the sprint, like other stuff as well, where, you know, it's a process to follow. The three key things are empathy, ideation, and experimentation. And kind of validation and testing.
Yeah, and the validation part, obviously, like we just said, is massively important. Like you really do need to be able to test it, because you know, it's only at that point that you truly know whether you've been successful in achieving what you were trying to do, or you spot things that perhaps maybe you missed, or you think, oh, actually, this is really useful.
So what sort of organisations use design thinking?
Well, there's lots of organisations that people know use design thinking. So there's Facebook, there's Spotify, there's Airbnb, Uber is a really good example. Okay, so Uber, they've got two distinct user groups, right? They've got their customers, like you or I, we want to catch a taxi. Okay, so we've got our particular set of kind of challenges and needs that need empathising with, and then you've got the drivers as well who are using the product. So for the driver, you know, one of the main concerns of a traditional, you know, taxi driver, I guess, would be people not paying. So that's what they did. You know, they introduced the cashless payment system. It's all paid up front. Everybody's happy. And then from a kind of customer point of view, you've got, you know, you order a taxi. Is it going to turn up? You call the taxi company. Yeah, another 5 minutes. You know, 10 minutes later, whatever. You know, we've all been there. So Uber introduced a tracking system, and even better than that, they introduced something for the users where they can message the driver. And then, you know, also from a kind of safety point of view, you know, who am I getting in a taxi with? You know, so you get a driver rating system, you know, which also answers, you know, a key customer kind of concern. So that's how Uber have kind of put design thinking at the centre, you know, for their two very distinct user groups. So if I'm interested in design thinking, where do you start if this is new to you?
I think the first thing is just getting your head around the mindset, really. And so I think, and most people these days, I mean, we're lucky in a sense that we have the internet. So, you know, like everyone does. Whoa, revelation. But you know, everyone, you know, the first thing people do is straight to Google.
I'm just going to go and check out the internet.
What's this internet?
That sounds really interesting.
I mean, hopefully this has helped talking through it today. But
you know, products and services that you know and love.
Yeah.
Go out there and see what they're doing. You know, Spotify, I've used it, and you know, stuff that we use every day. Yeah, so that's design thinking in a nutshell. Probably not in a nutshell. Really
quite a nutshell
with a bit of waffle in it, but there you go. You know, it's probably quicker than reading a book.
Well, that's true. Actually, that's true. Hopefully you found that interesting. And from myself, goodbye. Thank you for joining us.
See you next time.
See ya.